What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. Back on another roller coaster week for this team. Looked amazing against Pumas. Even without Lionel Messi, they go in there, take care of business, clinch an advancement to the Leagues Cup quarterfinals with a convincing 3-1 victory. Turn the page back to league play on Sunday. Where'd this team go? They're giving up a goal in the second minute of the game. They answer back quickly, and then an avalanche, thanks to their rivals, Orlando City, who hate them with a passion. You could tell just by some of the chants in that were very colorful, to say the least, in that game. 4-1 crushing loss to Orlando City. We'll talk a little bit about that game. Not just the loss, the fact that these two could play again in a couple of weeks if they both advance in Leagues Cup. And Orlando City, we'll get into this a little bit more, looking like a real contender in MLS. But we'll dive into just what happened, even though some inspired play by Yannick Bright. He's come in and he's stepped up a lot more since he's been in the starting lineup. Ian Frey playing well. And we'll have an update on exactly what Lionel Messi's status is. Can he come back for the LA Galaxy game, or at the very least, could he come back for the Leagues Cup quarterfinals? Michelle will have an update on that. But let's dive right in. I guess we'll start with the good news first. They did advance in Leagues Cup, and they had that pretty good victory. Suarez called it last week. This was the great time for Suarez to break out of the funk, and he did. A goal and 2 assists. And then Rodrigo de Paul, Tadeo Allende both scored. So we'll talk, at least in the Leagues Cup play, Michelle, this team looked really good.
They looked incredible in that game. Honestly, that game, everybody was praising them. Everybody was, all the commentators, everybody, the fans, and you watch that team that day, and it was like, okay, they've come together. They'd only lost really at that point when they won that game, only 2 of the previous 16 games had they lost. They had lost only 2 games in the previous 16, one to Cincinnati and then to PSG. So the team was really on a roll. They looked like they had put it all together. The fact that they won that game without Lionel Messi, they won that game 3-1 without Lionel Messi, okay? Because that was the big concern. Messi's not going to be there for this super important game, a definitive, decisive game where they had to win to clinch a spot. And they did it, and they did it looking good. The passing looked fluid. It looked like Rodrigo de Paul was, right in there as if he had been there all season. Luis Suarez stepped in for his buddy, Leo Messi, who was missing, and really played very well. He had a goal. He had 1 goal that was called back. He had the other goal. He had 2 assists. Yes, he finally got to score.
I felt bad. I felt bad for him when they took the one away, and I was like, "No, are you kidding me? Finally!"
I know. I think it was his first goal in 12 games or something, and they're like, "Nope, just kidding, just kidding, Pistolero. We're not going to give you that." But then he ends up getting the PK, and the team looked good. Yannick Bright, we're going to talk a little more about him in a little bit, but he really. I've always been saying since last year, Yannick Bright brings a different type of midfielder to the team. He had 8 tackles in that game. We're going to talk about that after. I don't want to get too much into Yannick Bright, but he was one reason that the team played so well and looked so good. And everything looked like it was on the up and up. So on that night, they played very well. They advanced to play in the quarterfinals August 20th against Tigres here at home. Mm-hmm. Everything looked good at that moment. Let's hear what Maxi Falcón had to say about that win.
Bueno, buenas noches. Sí, la verdad que, como decís vos, una clasificación en la que cada partido, por la clase de campeonato que es importante, ¿no? No haber perdido y lograr el objetivo, obviamente, que da confianza a todos como grupo y nada, en lo que pasó el otro día, obviamente antes que termine el partido ya lo estábamos hablando, de que íbamos a pelear y demás, y fuimos a buscar que me sacan la tarjeta, por suerte se pudo dar y pude ayudar a mis compañeros hoy en lo que me tocó. Yo creo que hicimos un gran partido a nivel general y nada, estoy muy contento.
Hoy tu compatriota, Luis Suárez, aplicó un fenómeno. ¿Pensás que le va a llegar el mensajito del Loco Abreu? ¿Cómo lo viste?
Sí, yo creo que sí, yo soy muy amigo, jugaron mucho tiempo juntos. y nada, ya varios aparte en el banco ya habían dicho que le va a picar, estaba el comentario ahora en el vestuario, pero nada, por suerte entró, pudimos, como te decís vos, sumar de a 3, que era importante para nosotros, para asegurarlo y nada. Me alegro por él también que sigue marcando goles. Bueno, todos sabemos la carrera que tiene, ¿no? Pero se sigue manteniendo con sus nanas, como así decimos, sigue dando el 100 y eso es importante para nosotros.
Última de mi parte, tema mate, materiales, vos muy matero, Luis
Sí.
también, Rodri de Paul, ¿cómo viene la
Sí, siempre caemos con varios mates al vestuario, por allá toman el de Leo, el de Luis y ahí vamos tomando todo, pero la idea es que se forme más que nada conversaciones, nos riamos un rato, que de eso se trata también el compartir el mate, ¿no? Que bueno, que da como para charlar, como te digo, ¿viste? Y para pasar el tiempo y nada, que como siempre digo, como el fútbol nos vemos casi todos los días, porque es un trabajo por ahí diferente al resto, es la manera de pasar el rato de nosotros y nos gusta.
All right, we get the mate back in
time.
there. We
Yep.
should have brought it. We should have brought our mate today. I forgot to mention, yeah, with this video.
I think not with that Orlando loss. Let's wait. Let's wait a little bit.
We'll wait. But yeah, that was Maxi Falcone, who's really a good, he's you know, you guys, the fans don't often get to see the players talk and what they're really like away from the field. I can tell you that Maxi Falcone is just a delight. He's just a delight to speak with. He's super friendly. When he talks to the media, he seems to enjoy it, which is not that common. He likes to talk to us. He just likes to chat in general. He's a very chatty guy, very friendly and warm. Anyway, he said, you know, that this game, that the game they played against Pumas, they played very well, that every game in a tournament like that is critical. Every game is crucial, and they played very well. He was happy that, if you recall, they had given him a red card in the previous game, and he was going to be missing from this game. They were going to be missing Messi and Maxi Falcone. They ended up rescinding that. Inter Miami had, you know, disputed it. They rescinded it. He got to play, so he was happy about that. And then he talked about being from Uruguay himself. He talked about his compatriot, Luis Suarez, and what a great game he played. And then he also talked about how they, you know, they've been sharing a lot of mate together between Messi. All the Uruguayans and the Argentines love mate. So he talked about how this is a very unique job. You're with these teammates all the time, spending so much time together. So sharing mate with each other is something that they do to pass the time, and it kind of helps with the camaraderie of the team and all that. So that was him talking about that. Like I mentioned before, Yannick Bright and Ian Frey both are two players who are not from Argentina, but have really been, you know, critical in the last couple of games. They have shown that even though they are from the American system, you know, Yannick Bright is from Italy, but he went to University of New Hampshire. He came through the college system, which a lot of people say, oh, you can never find any good players from the college system. Yannick Bright is proof that you can. If you dig and you find, there are some gems out there in college, and Yannick Bright is one. University of New Hampshire, honors student, extremely bright. Yes, pun intended. You know, he was a draft pick last year from Chris Henderson and his staff, and he has proven to be a really, really good player. He had 8 tackles in that game, which is more than any other player in the game. In fact, the second most was Busquets with 4. Everyone else had 2 or less. He had 8 tackles in that game. He has a he has a great knack for slide tackling without picking up a lot of fouls, which really is a skill. It's a skill that doesn't get a lot of attention. It doesn't get a lot of headlines. But believe me, the coaches like Javier Mascherano and Tata Martino last year, they love players like that who can disrupt, steal the ball, and not get too many cards in the process. He's a very, very important player, what he brings to the team. And the thing is, the question now is going to be, the last 2 games he started, he moved back into the starting lineup because there was an opening, because Messi has not been there the last 2 games. Now, when Messi does return, whether it be in the Galaxy game or the next game, quarterfinal, where is the space for Yannick Bright? Because they are very happy with how he's playing. And then also Ian Frey, another one who had a long injury. Yannick Bright was out 7 weeks. Ian Frey also out for extended periods. Here's Javier Mascherano talking about those 2 players and what they've been bringing the team lately.
Sí, bueno, lo dije, lo de Yannick, hizo un partidazo. La verdad, recuperando mucho, dando... Inclusive en el primer tiempo, cuando Rodrigo salía afuera, nos atacaba al carril central muchas veces como media punta, entendiendo que quizás necesitábamos a alguien más, no tener a Leo ahí. Y después muy bien en el segundo tiempo, cuando decidimos hacer esa especie de diamante con Busi de línea de 3 y él siendo el pivote solo para iniciar el juego. La verdad que lo hizo a la perfección, sobre todo nos dio un juego posicional que necesitábamos. ¿Por qué? Porque en la pérdida ellos tenían transiciones, tenía gente rápida para salir de contra y no lo permitimos. Jan, primero contento por él porque quizás hasta corrimos un pelín de riesgo, hacía mucho tiempo que no jugaba. Pero Jan, cuando se lesionó en aquella tarde de Porto, venía en un nivel altísimo. Y lamentablemente se lesionó, estuvo muchas semanas fuera y hoy volvió y sobre todo es verdad que con sus condiciones físicas para defender soluciona mucho, pero nos dio mucho en ataque. Hoy fue clave para mí la manera de cómo entendió que nos tenía que dar amplitud por la derecha y combinar mucho con Rodrigo, con Tadeo cuando estuvo en ese lado. La verdad que en ese sentido fue un gran ingreso.
So there, Javier Mascherano is talking about the qualities of both players that, the guys who got, obviously the people who score always get the headlines. Luis Suarez, deservedly so. Luis Suarez deserved headlines. Rodrigo de Paul, Allende, they scored the goals. But he pointed out that these two players, Yannick Bright and Ian Frey, in his mind, were very critical to that victory. He said that Yannick Bright recovered, bought so many balls. He said un montón, a ton, a lot of balls that he recovered. And he said, that he played his position perfect. He played a perfect positional role in that game. He was able to combine with Busquets and play a pivot. But then when Rodrigo de Paul would go to the outside, he would take over the central lane. So he has a very good understanding. And again, this goes back to Yannick Bright has a master's degree in finance. He was a top college player who got a master's degree in finance. The guy's a really smart guy. He understands the game. And that understanding showed in his ability to shift what his role was during that game. And then Ian Frey, he said, I'm very happy for him after all the weeks that he missed. He said when he got injured against Porto that day in the Club World Cup, he was in top form. And he repeated the word top form, that Ian Frey was playing great, that it was really sad that he got injured at that point, and that it was a bit of a risk to play him when he had not played for so long. But he really said that he brings a lot to the attack, that he can open up, the right side. He's able to combine with players. He's creative. He's able to combine with Rodrigo de Paul, combine with Allende, whoever's on the right side, or with Segovia. So anyway, he was very pleased with both of those players. So at the end of that game and at the end of those press conferences, everybody was in a good mood. And then, wah.
And then they left it all. They left it all at home, apparently. Although, give credit. To me, and I know we'll get into this, but that's twice Orlando has slapped this team around. Once with Messi,
3-0.
Once without Messi.
Yeah, 3-0. So, they've now beaten them 7-1 in the
overall,
2 games. 3-0
if this was aggregate, it'd be terrible. If this was aggregate, it'd be terrible.
Yes, they beat them 3-0 here in Chase Stadium and 4-1 now. 7-1 they've beaten them.
But look, tell me, I mean, if you felt the same way, Michelle, I gotta agree. Like I was watching the broadcast and on Apple TV, and Taylor Twellman was saying that it could have been 8 or 9-1. They missed a bunch of chances and still got 4 goals. I mean, Luis Muriel looked unbelievable. Ojeda looked unbelievable. They're running around.
Yes.
This team, I know everybody talks about Cincy and Philly and, deservedly so, and the crew and all that, but Orlando is now legitimately a contender for the MLS Cup. I mean, I know they have.
And they've scored 50. They've scored 50 goals, which is the same numbers Inter Miami has scored, by the way.
They have a similar issue to Miami on the defensive side. They give up a lot as well. They score a lot, but they give up a lot. But if they shore up their defense just enough, and I know their goalie's hurt, they're counting on a younger player now, all that. But no, not that. No, I'm sorry, that was the League's Cup. I screwed that up. But
Right.
the defensive side though has given up a lot of goals this year. If you look at their margin and all of that, but if
Their
this team
goalkeeper
figures it
made
out,
an incredible.
no,
their
he almost
goalkeeper-
maybe
that-
that's what I was thinking. He
their
backpedaled
keeper.
Suarez.
Their keeper. Yeah, he was pushed
Yeah.
up. Suarez, having the experience that he has, he decided to chip it over his head,
Right.
and it was about to go. It was
That's-
about to go in.
That's
he,
what I was.
He
That's
runs
when I was.
backpedals back there, sacrifices his body. I mean, it looked like he got injured seriously in that game.
That was what I thought they had the issue. But then he came up and at least it seems he's okay because he came up and finished the game. But he landed awkwardly, and immediately when I first thought, I was like, oh God, torn ACL, poor guy. I mean, after he
torn
made an
ACL, I thought knee. I thought that he hurt his knee.
It was his left knee. But anyway, but the overall point is, I think Orlando's a legitimate contender, especially if they can figure themselves out on defense.
They advanced in the League's Cup too. They have the same thing, and these two teams could play each other. Like you said, if they both win their quarterfinals, they play Toluca, Miami plays Tigres. If they both happen to win, they are going to play each other in the semifinal. And here's the thing, and because you're a Miami native, and so am I. Or I was born in Maryland, but I was raised in Miami. Orlando and Miami. Orlando, no offense to anyone from Orlando, but they have a chip on their shoulder about Miami. Everything, the whole city, every sport. Whether it be the Magic and the Heat, whether it just be the city versus city, Miami is viewed as the glamour city. This is the city with the beaches, with the glamour, with the celebrities, with the, all of that glitz and glamour, sexy city, Miami. Orlando is Mickey Mouse, Disney World, theme parks. And that city rivalry, to me, anyway, my opinion is that Orlando wants to beat Miami so much more than Miami wants to. Orlando wants to beat Miami so much more than Miami wants to beat Orlando. Like Orlando views Miami, they hate Miami. They just hate Miami because is the city that everyone talks about, the big Florida city that the tourists want to come from Europe. And yes, they go to Orlando to go to Disney World, but then they come to Miami for the beautiful beaches, the fancy restaurants, the celebrities, the beautiful people. Miami's known for the beautiful people, the beautiful beaches, the sexy, and Orlando, I'm sorry, but it's known for Mickey Mouse and Disney World.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how high you had the volume on the TV, but it didn't need to be. I think it was pretty clear. You could hear F Miami loud and clear. F Inter Miami, loud and clear a few times during that game. And then
which is really, honestly, I hate that. That chant is
I know.
Come up with something more clever. That's stupid. Come up with a better chant.
When Galisi almost got hurt, well, momentarily got hurt, then an F Luis Suarez chant started up too.
Yes.
Because they started feeling like they hurt his fault, their goalie got hurt. Here we go. And then they're slamming him too. So
and then
you don't hear that normally.
And the other chant they did is Florida's purple, or whatever.
Yeah.
No, Florida's not pink, Florida's purple. Yeah. And then in the final minutes, it was the na 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 hey, goodbye. I mean, they were taunting their fans. And by the way, their coach, after the game, the first thing he said in the post-game press conference, the very first thing he said was he thanked the fans because he felt that the fans in Orlando really, I don't want to say intimidated Miami, but bothered Miami because they were, from the first second of the game, they were on, they were loud, and they were, they wanted that game badly. And the thing is, and we're going to ask Javier Mascherano here and Noah Allen what happened, but the thing is, clearly in that game, Orlando, not just the fans, we just talked about the fans, but that team was hungrier to win this game than the Miami team. And what I would say, and then we're going to hear from Javier Mascherano and Noah Allen, Go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you
No,
gonna say?
I hear the whole fans thing, and of course he's got to milk that because it's his home team and his home crowd and all of that. But I don't. I think you point more toward Muriel and Ojeda just being studs and being amazing.
They were studs. No, they made look Muriel. Muriel, to be honest, made Jordi Alba look stupid in that one play. I mean, Jordi
Off the
Alba, who is
corner.
a world-class player at the corner kick,
Yeah.
Jordi Alba's a very good player. He's a world-class player, Barcelona, whatever. On that play, Jordi looked like he had control of the ball there for a second, and then all of a sudden Muriel just takes it and scores. So, but what I would say
Well, they had
about
a
the
response.
desire,
They had a response. Remember, Bright scored 3 minutes
Bright
later,
scored.
and the whole
Bright
half
scored
was
again.
1-1.
Yannick Bright. It was 1-1. So let's go
they're-
back
they
to
were
Yannick
they were
Bright.
they were in this game.
They
That's
were
what
in
I'm
it
saying. Like
in
the
the
whole
first
fans
half.
thing, intimidation. I don't think so
Right.
because it was 1-1. But
It was
Orlando's
1-1.
brilliance,
Yes.
Orlando's brilliance on the field took over in the second half.
Yeah, it was 1-1 half. And again, let's go back to, this is not like the Yannick Bright show. It's sounding like the Yannick Bright show. But sorry, first of
Had a
all,
good
they
week.
took the Bright Line. I mentioned on my story, they took the Bright Line train for the first time to the game. So I said it was only fitting that
Yeah.
Yannick Bright would score his first goal in his MLS career. He didn't score it all last year.
Yep.
His first goal after they took the Bright Line train to Orlando. So Muriel scores in the second minute, and it's like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. 3 minutes later, out of nowhere comes Yannick Bright right up the middle, and a beautiful, a first touch half volley, really nice finish on that goal for his first goal. And he yells, "Vamos!" And everybody's excited.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was 1-1. And yes, it was 1-1 until halftime. The second half, Miami came out flat. Orlando came out fired up and just took over. Orlando took over the second half of that game. Now, one thing I would say before we hear from Javier Mascherano is my opinion is that some of the players on Inter Miami, maybe because they are world-class players who have played in Champions Leagues and played in La Liga and played in Europe and played in all these World Cups and whatever, they seem to be more motivated in cups and against foreign competition than they are motivated for MLS games. Okay. Maybe this is just me being, playing psychologist here. But to me, the way they played in the Club World Cup, when they're playing against Porto and Palmeiras and Al Ahly, and PSG, but when they're playing against those kind of teams, and then even in these cups where they're playing against Mexican clubs, they seem to be more inspired than they are about their MLS regular season games. Maybe because the MLS season is long. And as Maxie mentioned earlier, these cups, each game is kind of a do or die, critical, crucial game. So they're really fired up. They seem to have some dips when they're playing in the 34-game MLS season. That's my opinion. Let's hear what Javier Mascherano had to say. He was not happy. Here we go.
Muchas gracias, Michael. Buenas noches, Javier. En algunas ocasiones, cuando se dan este tipo de partidos, normalmente un jugador que llega desde la banca puede quizás darle un poco de energía, darle algo distinto, especialmente algunos que no han tenido muchos minutos. ¿Crees que le faltó eso también hoy a tu equipo? Y si eso no lo tienes ahora, ¿se requiere de algún refuerzo para traer ese jugador que pueda marcar diferencia viniendo desde el banco? Gracias.
No. Hoy no es para estar haciendo puntualización en las individualidades. Creo que todos somos responsables de lo que pasó esta noche. El primero yo, claramente, el máximo responsable. Y claramente tenemos una larga semana como para repensar lo que nos pasó. La verdad que a mí, como entrenador, como cabeza de grupo, me duele mucho dar la imagen que dimos hoy.
Última pregunta, Javier.
Profesor Mascherano, buenas noches. Javier Rodríguez de Fan Network TV. Permítame discrepar de lo que usted dice de la responsabilidad suya, porque esto se parece mucho a la pregunta que le hice en la rueda de prensa anterior. Hay jugadores que uno los ve no dando la extra milla que sí dan los jugadores senior. O sea, usted puede plantear un equipo, pero si hay jugadores que no responden, ¿cómo puede ser eso responsabilidad del entrenador? ¿Cuál es su opinión, profesor?
Porque yo soy los que lo elijo, Javier, el responsable soy yo. Juega el que yo digo que tiene que jugar y no juega el que yo digo que no tiene que jugar. La responsabilidad es mía, me hago cargo, y te vuelvo a repetir, pero bueno, la verdad que es un partido que nos muestra, tiene que ser, este partido tiene que ser un partido bisagra. De acá a final de temporada, ¿qué es lo que queremos ser? Si lo que veníamos siendo o lo de hoy. Hoy sabemos que cuando bajamos un poquito el pie del acelerador, cualquier equipo te hace daño, cualquier equipo te supera. Bueno, dependerá de nosotros, sobre todo de mí, convencer a los jugadores de que esto no puede volver a pasar.
Javier, ¿tú sentiste antes del partido que el equipo no tenía la intensidad o creías que todo está bien entrando en el partido y crees que están cansados o es otra cosa?
No, Michelle, no hay razones. Jugaron el mismo día que nosotros. Ellos repitieron prácticamente todos los mismos jugadores. Eh, no, no. Hoy no hay excusa, Michelle. El fútbol es táctica, es organización, es talento, pero sabe también que en el uno contra uno yo soy mejor que vos. Y tener el hambre y el deseo de que no me vas a superar. Y hoy claramente no lo tuvimos. No lo tuvimos. Lamentablemente me duele mucho porque después, pues, digamos, de fútbol vos podés perder, te pueden superar, digamos, pero creo que hoy el equipo no tuvo el tono, la intensidad que necesitaba el partido. Y no creo que haya sido tema de cansancio, porque ya te digo, no hay excusas. Los dos equipos venimos con el mismo trajín de la League Cup, teníamos las mismas necesidades del miércoles, los dos necesitábamos ganar, los dos repetimos la mayoría de jugadores, pero había un equipo que tenía más hambre que el otro.
All right, strong words from Javier Mascherano. He said, no excuses. Our team did not have the intensity. They did not have the intensity and desire that they needed. He said, of course, I am I'm most responsible because I am the coach. There are no excuses. He said, yes, soccer is about tactics, it's about organization, it's about talent, but it's also about in the 1v1s, I am better than you. I am better than you, and I'm hungrier than you, and I have more desire than you. And he said that it pains him. It said, it pains me a lot. And during the course of that press conference, he said a few times, this hurt me, this pains me to see the performance that we put out there, to see that image of our team, because he felt that the team just didn't have the intensity. And I asked, is it possible that maybe they were tired? Did he feel going into the game that there was something missing? And he said, no excuses at all. He said both of these teams played Leagues Cup games on Wednesday. Both of these teams played majority the same exact lineup that they played on Wednesday. The difference was that one team was hungrier, one team wanted it more, and that was the difference. And in fact, earlier in the press conference, one thing we don't have on that clip, but he was strong all around. He said there was only one team on the field tonight, and it was Orlando. He said there was only one team on the field tonight, and it was Orlando. So he was really down. He was really mad. He said he just didn't have too much to say, which he also usually does have a lot to say. He was very upset, and he said after this clip, one of the things he also talked about was that this is a game that we are going to have to remember going forward. Or I think he did mention in this clip that when they take their foot, he said, we have to remember this because when we take our foot off the accelerator, anybody can beat us. So we cannot take our foot off the accelerator. And now, you really wonder, how can a team look so good on a Wednesday and look so bad 4 days later, but it happened. And let's see what Noah Allen, one of the players who was on the field, how did he see it?
Yeah, good. Noah Allen, whenever you guys want, go ahead.
I know it's a tough loss, but what was Lionel message inside the locker room after the game?
Yeah, we just have to keep going. We have to move on. Every player has to take responsibility. Every player has to understand that this is not good enough, how we did today. And we can't take our foot off the pedal. We have to keep going, and we can't get too complacent.
It was a 1-1 the first half. What do you think happened, or you guys probably didn't expect it, or didn't work well in the second half?
I think we let the game get too spread out. We played into the way that they wanted to. Once we went 2-1 down, I think we didn't keep our heads up. We didn't, keep pushing each other for a second goal. And when you don't have that motivation and that togetherness, that's what happens. And we have to have that togetherness, especially when we go down like that.
In the last goal, I saw Busquets talking to you and talking to Benji. What he was saying, to you guys?
No, we were unorganized in the back line, especially in the last 20, 30 minutes. And, he told us, look, no matter how the game is going, we have to be organized and we have to be, and he's 100% right. We were unorganized and, that's what happened.
You are, like I said at the beginning, it's a tough loss, but you guys ahead in League Cups, playing the quarterfinals, it's also a good motivation to continue to do the good things during the season?
Yeah, we won't let this affect us. We are going to learn from this. We're going to use this as motivation. We're going to use this as a piece to build on because, for us, this is a disappointing loss. This is, rock bottom. So we want to take a step forward now that we're in a good position in the League's Cup. We're still in a good position in the league. And, we have LA a good opportunity at home on Saturday.
Okay. Rock bottom. He said it. You heard it from him right there. Rock bottom. He admitted that they were disorganized. They were disorganized in the back. Busquets, who we've mentioned is always sort of like an assistant coach on the field. He was talking to the players in the back saying, hey, you guys look disorganized. Also, I want to throw one more thing in, and this is not, nobody played well, but we haven't mentioned at all that Oscar Ustadi returned to the starting lineup after missing a few games. He did not have a good game. No. So I don't know if he was just rusty or whatever the case. He had been so good before he got injured. And, Rocco stepped in and played well in the games that he played, Leagues Cup. But Ustadi came back, which should have been a boost to the team because he is a team leader in the back and usually helps organize. But he did not have one of his strongest games either. So on top of everyone else playing poorly for the most part, Oscar Ustadi also did not have his best game. So it was just overall a bad day for Miami. And now going forward, are they going to be motivated to play the LA Galaxy on Saturday, which is one of the strangest teams? I looked it up, by the way, for those of you from Miami, and I know that Andre is. This team won MLS Cup last year. They are now dead last. They have 3 wins only, 16 points. It is the worst performance, the worst collapse by a champion of a sports team in America since the 1998 Florida Marlins baseball team. Yes, they won after winning the World Series in 97. They won only 1/3 of their games the next year. This LA Galaxy team has been compared to that Florida Marlins team. They have gone from first to worst. They are literally the worst team in the league, even though they are the defending champions, which is very strange to say. They're about to play the defending champion LA Galaxy, who are in last place.
Did they tear down their roster too, or was this just an inexplicable?
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
This one is even worse. In fact, Kevin Baxter, who happened to have been the Marlins beat
Oh
writer
yeah,
for the
K-backs.
Miami
Yep.
Herald way back, Kevin
Yep.
Baxter. He's been at the LA Times for a long time, and he
Mhm.
covers the LA Galaxy.
Yep.
He also covered those Marlins. Maybe Kevin Baxter is to blame. I'm starting to see the correlation here. Kevin Baxter, 97 Florida Marlins. Kevin Baxter, 2024 LA Galaxy.
25.
I'm going to have to
Yeah.
call Kevin and
Hey,
ask him about this.
who
Anyway,
knows?
but he pointed out in a story that he did about what went wrong with this Galaxy team. He
Well,
said that this was
yeah.
actually worse than the Marlins because they did not tear
Yeah,
down the
roster
roster. The
teardown,
one
right.
thing, Ricky Puig is a big player for them. He has been injured all year with a knee surgery. So that is a big loss, but that is one player.
But
The
yeah,
rest of the roster is pretty much intact, and they started the
awful.
season without any wins in the first 12 games. They've just
Right.
been a disaster. So now the question
But
is, will Miami be? Now they did advance in the League's Cup.
I was about to say, continues the weirdness. Here they are in the League's Cup quarters. So again, this is a team that Miami could end up facing more than once, potentially. You never know if they advance in League's Cup, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. They're playing Pachuca in the League Cup. Seattle plays the other game against Puebla. But yeah, the Galaxy is coming off a 4-0 loss to Seattle. They did advance in the League's Cup, so they can have a good day. They have good players. They did win the title. Less than a year ago, this team won the MLS Cup title. So this is a team that, who knows? It's maybe a little bit of a danger game for
Trap
Miami,
game.
and they're going to be at home, a trap game. They're going to be at home. They have the League's Cup quarterfinal against Tigres on Wednesday, so everyone's going to be focused on that. Are they going to be motivated? And the other question, will Lionel Messi be back? Here's what I can tell you about that. I know for those of you who wanted to know, yes, we held that out on you until the end, so you would stay and watch the whole show. No, I'm just kidding. Lionel Messi returned to training. He was training on the side, not with the group, on Saturday before they took the Bright Line train to Orlando. He was training, so he was back on the field. He was not with the full group. We will see as the week goes on if he joins the group in group training. Then he could be back for the LA Galaxy game. Javier Mascherano said we hope to have him back either for the Galaxy game or for the League's Cup quarterfinals. So that'll be the question. Which one of the two games does he come back for?
The burning questions with this team right now. Will Messi play? Will they ever take the Bright Line ever again after that debacle? Stay tuned. Who knows what ends up happening with this team.
I know.
But yeah, it's definitely, in all seriousness, it is. I'm with you on the trap game thing. I mean, you look at the standings now. Miami still has 3 games in hand. We've been saying this over and over.
They do. That's the thing. They have 3 games in hand, but they did drop. They're slipping and sliding.
Yeah,
They're slipping and sliding.
Now they have
They're
5.
Now in 6.
They let Orlando City above
place.
them now. Now they have 5 teams ahead of them. It still feels like a squandered opportunity. And if they drop this game against the dismal, dysfunctional LA Galaxy, it's going to be it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even worse. So they have to put up for this game.
You don't want to get to the line. This team with this roster, with or without Messi, okay? Yes, Messi is Messi, but with or without Messi, last year Messi missed 2.5 months and they still were in first place on top of the table the entire season without Messi for 2.5 months, okay? Right now they are in 6th place. Only the top 7 are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. They're down to 6th place. Now, they do have 3 games in hand. They can make up 9 points. But to do that, they need to win 3 games. They need to win 3 games to make up those 9 points. So they've been sliding and slipping, and they're getting into some dangerous territory. They only have 11 games left. There's 11 games left in the MLS season. They're in 6th place. Yes, they have 3 games in hand. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be dramatic. This team is always dramatic. That we can promise you.
Yeah, and the point you were saying about the competition and getting up for a certain team, a certain game, I wonder if it's just get in, and does the motivation level go up when it becomes every game being I mean, I know they still have the first round format the same, right? That aggregate just like last year.
Yeah.
I mean, not aggregate. I'm sorry. The 2 out of 3 that they had last year. but it becomes
Right.
a little more urgency. There's a little more urgency, obviously, in the playoffs. Does that amp up the level a little bit? Or is it a problem of they're just not seeing these teams for what they are?
Yeah, there are a lot of good teams in MLS, and they say the right things. When we ask them about it, they say it, but I don't know if they, do they really believe, that Orlando City, Columbus Crew, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, do they have the same drive to beat those teams than they do against a Mexican team or a Brazilian team or a Portuguese team or, an Egyptian team? That's what I don't know. There's something that seems to be missing a little
Something
bit
doesn't
when they're playing those games. So we'll
click there.
see.
Yeah. And the
We'll
wasted
see.
chance we were talking about, even though they still have the 3 games in hand, the wasted chance is that now, like you said, now they need those extra 9 points just to reach Philadelphia. Before, they could have overtaken everybody and gone in the first place with that cushion. Now it's just to get there. So that's where
Right, and then
that's
you
where the
lose
loss
home, and you
costs.
lose home field advantage too. I think only the
Right.
top 4 get home field advantage.
Exactly.
So if they finish below the top 4, they're going to be playing their first games on the road, which did not go well in Orlando. So it's going to be interesting.
Crystal Ball here is looking at 4 seed versus 5 seed, Miami and Orlando. I don't think you want to go there in the first round to a place you've never won, literally. Which
Literally, they've never won.
Never won there.
They've never won there, and they have lost this year again. Aggregate 7-1. They have been. You cannot say that they are a better team than Orlando when Orlando has beaten them 3-0 and 4-1. In this series, Orlando is the better team right now.
Yep. So that's a very big, very realistic possibility right now of some. Think about it. They're in 6th right now. Orlando is not far off of potentially
in 4th. They're
in
4th.
They could move up. They could move up to 3 potentially. So get them in a 4-5, a 3-6 matchup. You're asking for trouble right there, especially in a 2 out of 3 if it's in the first round. So, anyways, let's see what happens with this team because, like you said, there's never a shortage of. Oh, and we mentioned Tigres, obviously the quarterfinal. Anything on Tigres that maybe fans need to know? I mean, obviously they're one of the better teams in Liga MX. Usually,
I mean that's Miami by not being the top team in the Leagues Cup for MLS, they have to play a tougher team than Seattle. Seattle got a little bit of an easier draw. They have to play a little bit harder draw. Yes, Tigres is traditionally, a very strong team. Once again, it's going to be one of these, a Mexican team that's physical, that's going to be hungry. Now they are going to have home field advantage. The MLS team has home field advantage here. So, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but I know that they will be motivated. They clearly love these do or die games against foreign teams. They like to play in those games, and generally they have been playing well. When you look at how they played, even Champions Cup, they played well. Club World Cup, they played very well. And Leagues Cup, they also got through their group without losing. So they have been very good against foreign opposition.
The Seattle Sounders, by the way, the only team, I believe, in either bracket in the entire field that won all 3 of their opening phase games in regulation, got a max 9 points out of it. Sounders, who actually
a good team.
Sounders who looking farther ahead. The Sounders will come to Fort Lauderdale September 16th. That's a rare matchup. I know they don't usually play Seattle very often. So
they're playing the Galaxy and Seattle, 2 West Coast teams, which is rare. But Seattle is, again, that's another one. When you're counting how many games out of 11 is Miami a shoo-in to win, they have to play one of the top teams in the whole league when they're playing Seattle. Yep. So that's going to be a really tough game for them.
Yeah, there's games coming up against Charlotte. There's that one against Seattle. There's a game still against
Chicago,
New York City FC. There's a game with Nashville right at the finish line. Good old Atlanta waiting for coming down on October 11th. I'm just looking at the schedule and saying some of these games that they can't screw around. They need to get these points while they're there and keep themselves in it. They're in 6th place. We're not talking about they're not so cushy in the playoff picture. So it's gotta get better against these league games for sure. But we'll be back next week to recap what happens against the Galaxy and where this team stands heading into that. We'll preview the Leagues Cup quarterfinal for next week against Tigres. But until then, thank you for watching the show. As always, you can catch us on YouTube at MiamiHerald.com or listen to us on all your favorite podcatchers. Until then, enjoy the soccer, everybody. For Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Have a good weekend.